All right, so we're gonna create a campaign for a roofing company that operates in a few different markets, has a few different services, some commercial, some residential, some solar. We're gonna put this together based on some real data that I have. We're gonna go through the campaign creation process as if it were new, and then we're gonna look at a few optimizations based on some actual data that they've had through their legacy accounts. Before you get started, you want to make sure you've done your homework to make sure that these campaigns will make sense. So we want to take our own advice and look at the economics of this before we get started. The company that we're talking about helping to promote, they offer commercial roofing, so think big warehouses and things like that. They have residential roofing, which is both repairs and maybe you had hail damage, you need the whole roof replaced, or it's been 20 years. And they also offer residential solar, so growing field for them. People want solar on their homes, going a little bit greener. And so we need to figure out, on a limited budget, which of these would we prioritize to make search campaigns for.
Got it. So this is that first step of know your business, know your customer.
Yep.
And then, so tell me about these customers, right?
Yeah, so the commercial roof customer is obviously a business owner, so they're probably going to operate a little differently. They're going to be very specific. They're going to want local contractors. They're going to probably be doing their searching during business hours. They think of it as something on their to-do list as a business person. They're typically going to be more costly projects, so they probably do a little more research, and they're not doing it in a panic. Typically, commercial roofs, it's like, I've had this building for 10 years. I got to make sure I'm keeping up on the maintenance. I've planned for this. Whereas the residential customer could be a little bit more of a panic. If all of a sudden you've got water leaking, you're going to do less research. You need to get somebody out there really quickly.
Put yourself in the shoes of your customer when they're in the situation where you can help them.
Exactly. And then, for solar, you're probably doing, again, more long lead research, not as panicked. And they've got a different set of values. If they're thinking, green like that, it may not be as cost sensitive and things like that.
Okay. All right. So that's the understanding the business and the customer. Now the actual goals of what you were trying to accomplish from your marketing campaign looks like it was consistent.
Yeah. With all of them, you don't buy a new roof, put it in your shopping cart and click buy. So this is really a lead system. Those leads then go to an estimator. The estimator meets with the business owner, the homeowner, looks at their specific project, gives them a quote, and then you secure the business.
Great. So the math part, the economics of the business, looks like there's a pretty big variation here.
Yeah, so a commercial roof on average can be $120,000 to replace. Obviously, building size is a big function of the cost, and they're also done at typically high margin. The types of materials you use is a little different. It doesn't have to look as nice as a residential roof. Whereas residential roof, lower price and a little bit lower margin. It's highly competitive, so everyone's had to keep those prices super low because you got a lot of contractors that do residential roofing. And lastly, you've got solar, where it's both a little better price and it's kind of mid-margin, so it's not as lucrative as, say, commercial, but there's less competition, so it's a little more lucrative than a regular residential roof.
So big variation in the economics that you're going to get and the value of these leads, but again, these are only leads and you still have to sell the customer.
How are we going to know that the search campaign was worth it? What's our close rate on these leads? So again, I like to think of it in, base 100, so it's easy to do the math. If we get 100 of these, can we close 6 commercial roofs? And how do the economics work out there? So we want a close rate of 6% for commercial, 4% for residential. Again, that's because there's all that competition. And solar, we've got a really compelling case for solar. We've got some really good case studies and good guys on our team that have done good solar. So we're closing at 9% of the solar leads.
So clearly the commercial roofing is pretty attractive because of those margins and the price point. The solar is attractive because of the close rate.
So, we were tossing around an $8,000 budget. This is how we would split it up just based on taking a good pen to paper on our numbers. We're not going to do any for residential roof repair and replacement. Competition's too much. search is too expensive. We're going to focus on commercial and residential solar.
Yep.
$5K for the commercial roofing and $3K for the solar.
Got it. And that then leads to your campaign structure. So now you're already starting to think about how you're going to build these campaigns.
Exactly.
Against these customers with these kind of budgets and campaign structure.
Yep.
And in terms of goals, so you got to be able to have something to optimize to.
Yep.
Looks like you got all the math and put all the numbers up here.
Did the math, allowed a little padding because we don't know exactly every project. We're working with averages, but on those commercial roofs where we'll kind of focus for this first campaign, the average project revenue is $120,000, but then the net margin when you get through all the expenses, paying the labor, materials, all of that, you get down to about a 22% margin, which yields you about $26,000 in profit.
Still pretty good.
Feels like a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
We're doing pretty well. So we're saying, theoretically, we'd like to get the leads as cheap as we can. It'd be a lot nicer to get
Keep some of that margin for
keep some of that margin
business,
so the
yeah.
business is profitable. But the most we would ever pay for a closed project is $15K. That gives us that kind of padding for both profitability, but also varying project sizes, complications, things like that.
Right, but that's a signed deal, right? You still need to close.
Got to
it
close
first.
those leads. So if we're only closing 6% of the leads, the max we could ever pay for a lead is about $900, which
Still pretty
is
good.
Still big numbers, but
Yeah.
as we'll see, I think the click costs are pretty expensive in the space.
Got it. Well, you eat that up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've done all our preparation. We've got our idea about our structure and our customers and who we're going to target, and we've got our CPA target calculated.
Yep.
I think we're ready to build some campaigns.
Let's build some campaigns.
All right.
Time to get going with some campaign construction.
Awesome.